All right, welcome back, YouTube. Welcome back. I'm gonna try to see if I can get this uploaded immediately after the deck shift for Kiwi. But this is going to be a deck guide for the Blurple Jafar. I do have these in the sleeves for Kiwi still, but nevertheless, this deck, I posted a deck list about it a couple of weeks ago. Thank you guys for all the love and support on that video as well. I think it was like right at 700 views, a ton of likes on it, so I really do appreciate that, guys. And we also jumped up nearly 20 subscribers after that video as well, just from, whether it be guys from the Disney Lorcana groups, which I appreciate all you guys. So nevertheless, make sure to drop a like, subscribe, and share this with any of your partners who are interested in the game. I look to continue getting to enjoy some of this. So with that being said, let's kind of dive into it a little bit. So I did already post the deck list. I'm not going to go super deep on the deck list or anything. It's also, I don't even necessarily think that, I was playing a perfect deck list. I had some lucky success with it, ended up getting second in a set championship. But I do think the deck is extremely good. And I do think that the lines on the deck are very solid, and it plays incredibly well into the rest of the format. So even as the format develops, this deck has a ton of tools. And I simply just recommend continuing to try and play around with different ideas that you see may be best for it. And feel free to comment or feel free to reach out, if you want to kind of hash out some ideas or anything of that nature. Love talking games. So to start off, the turn one, what I'm always looking for, just as a given, of course, is going to be Popsicle Belt, right? I can't overstate this enough. This is the best turn one, essentially, in the entire game. Just to be able to put out a 3/3 body, the Popsicle is going to replace itself. The Popsicle is going to get put into the discard, which is also an additional resource follow-up for Tamatoa later in the game. But the main reason that we're looking to do this, because just having a 3/3 alone isn't really necessarily that great. It's really about having friends to back it up as well. So what I do with this particular situation is you're going to go Popsicle on turn one, you're going to banish the Popsicle, and then come turn two, before you ever ink your second card, so just for intensive purposes, I had to ink a card on turn one. What you're going to do is sing friends as soon as you start your turn two. So you just drew for turn, you're gonna sing your bell, or sing your friends, I'm sorry. You're gonna draw two cards. So now you got two additional cards in hand before you ever even inked your second card, right? Now this is where the deck gets a little bit fun, in my opinion, or this is really the key point of the deck. So your turn two, let's go ahead, we're gonna say we inked a card. Now this is where I play the deck a little bit different. Right, so let's just pull out, we'll pull out copies of all the one drops real quick for you guys. So most of these Blurple lists I've seen are not playing the one drop package. They are playing Croquet Mount. This is a given to the deck. If you don't know what this card does, banish this item, chosen character gains rush this turn. Excellent card, excellent tool for the deck as well. If you brick and you don't have another turn one play, this is perfectly fine to play on turn one. If anything, it sets you up for a nice tempo swing a couple of turns later, where you can rush in one of your 3 drops or rush in a 4 drop to be able to make a nice trade somewhere. But the real stars of the show for me were the 1 drops right here. So the main reason why I wanted to play these was because I'm playing Big Jafar, right? So Big Jafar inherently is going to work well with things that draw cards. That was my initial reasoning for it, and I didn't put too much extra thought into it, other than one particular thing. And this is the main reason why I decided to play the one drop package, is because of my ramp options. So in a deck like this, or any of your ramp decks, realistically right now, you have 2 major options. It's going to be Tippo and it's going to be Sail for your turn 2 play. So the thing with Tippo is that it uses a card from your hand, but that card can be uninkable, which is very powerful. Now, that's a resource game. And whenever I'm playing this deck, I'm trying to keep as many resources in hand as possible, just because it gives you the most amount of tools to be able to work with. That's a given. That's any card game. But beyond that also, just to kind of talk, about why, right? So this is a body. Now, this card is phenomenal in this deck, all right? The card is phenomenal simply because whenever you do your turn 2, you play the Tipo, you ink an extra card from hand, goes to the inkwell, right? So now your next turn, you're going to draw for turn, ink 1, and you're on turn 4, right? Well, what do we play for our turn 4, right? Play the big elephant. So the big elephant needs something to be able to bounce back to the hand. So now the Tipo gets bounced back to the hand, and now it can become ink in a following turn. So the Tipo kind of replaces itself in terms of a resource game, at least whenever you're playing the elephant. Otherwise, it's just kind of a 1-2 body that quests for 1, which I think realistically isn't that incredible. It's not doing anything amazing for us. So if I am on the play, I found myself consistently in a situation where I always would play Sail, but I would have a 1-drop to be able to follow it up. So for those of you that don't know, Sail says you can ink an additional time per turn. You draw a card, and you can ink an additional time per turn, right? So you play the Sail, you draw your extra card off of the Sail's effect, and now on your turn 2, you have the ability to play an extra card or you have an ability to play an extra card into your inkwell that turn. So let's say I want to ink this Tipo right here. So now I'm on 3 ink. I just played a Sail, which cost me 2. Now I have 1 standing. This is the main reason why I felt so confident with playing the 3 1-drops, is because being able to do something like a Bell on turn 1 or a 1-drop on turn 1, let's say we didn't get lucky. Let's say we didn't have the Bell and we just went for a Chernabog. Well, now we went Sail on turn 2, and maybe we can follow that up, that 3rd ink right there, with a Diablo or with a Broom. And that is a awesome tempo play. Reason being is because of all of the cards we play to utilize extra bodies on the field. Not to mention that they just straight up replace themselves, right? So maybe you want to take a card like this and you want to add on 3 attack to it. Maybe you want to bounce it back to your hand for a quick rush trade, or maybe you just want to get a big body out. That is the reason why I was playing the lower end of all of the or at least the lower 1-drops. But nevertheless, that's just kind of a general theory, deck theory point right there. Now, let's say, back to kind of our starting point right here. Let's say we played a Sail. Let's say we inked a card. This is what we're sitting on right now. We're about to go into turn 4, right? So what are all of our turn 4 options? All of our turn 4 options are just going to be pretty straightforward here. It's Genie, Jafar, and the Elephant. So, hey, at the end of the day, if you don't like the Elephant, you don't like them. I get it. I get it 100%. Max out on the Jafar, play 2 more of them. Max out on the Genie, just play 4 and 4. This card's incredible. No complaints. 5/5, or well, not 0/5 body, gains 1 attack for each card in your hand. Usually is going to be around a 4 or 5 attack if you manage your resources appropriately with it. Card was absolutely phenomenal, and so here's where your deck kind of starts to get a little tricky against your opponent. If this is a 5/5, let's say you have your turn 5 play, or maybe a turn 3 play maybe you're kind of on a brick and you just want to set up a mallet and play a 3-drop with it on turn 4, and in the following turn you surprise your opponent, you drop this as a 5/5 body or a 6/5, you banish this and give it rush real quick, right? That's just a very simplistic idea of what kind of tools this deck has available to it. But nevertheless, so one thing that I looked at a lot was, if I'm playing against the aggro decks, I always wanted to drop the Elephant as long as I had an additional body on field. One kind of cool tempo play as well, let's say you sing with this or do something with the Bell, you can bounce it back, and if you have another Popsicle to play for 1, then that just gives you another free Bell in a turn or so. I only play the Genie whenever I am in, if it's if it's your only 4-drop option, of course we're going to play it, but nevertheless, the Genie is the weakest of the 3 in my opinion. It is nice that it gets to continue your game in the late game. It's not the worst that it's evasive. It has its perks, But a lot of other decks are kind of tailoring themselves to be able to deal with problems that are the more traditional problems, such as a Genie or such as a Diablo. So I have found that Genie has kind of progressively became worse and worse. You don't want to play this in your aggro matchups. It's really just a tempo piece. It's something that it is the 4-drop that you want to play on against red-blue, right? So that you can start to try and quest up under them or maybe get 2 or 3 quests in with it before it gets killed. Jafar, on the other hand, I really found myself... this is a very flexible card. Now, mind you, I only played 2 in my original list, right? So don't... You can take this with a grain of salt if you would like, or if you want to play 4. I valued this card a lot. I valued this card when I play it, or to determine what times I was going to play it. This card becomes very valuable in terms of setting up the Big Jafar. So the Big Jafar is a shift 5, so you can just line it up perfect, play this turn 4, shift this on turn 5, and then try to blow your opponent out from there by setting up an early Big Jafar. Another cool part of it as well, especially since we're on the Jafar and Genie portion of it, is going to come down to the Lamp. Now the Lamp is one of the most vital pieces of the deck as a whole. Lamp says you can banish this item. If you have a character named Jafar, you draw 2 cards. If you have a character named Genie, you can bounce 1 card of your opponent's that costs 4 or less. Incredible tempo swing card. Really can put your opponent into some bad situations. So this would typically be something of a turn 6, a turn 7 play where you're able to line up. Let's say you played one of the 4-drops on turn 4. Turn 5 may have been an Elsa, or it may have been one of the big bells. So as you're trying to just make a value trade with your opponent, forgive me, I don't have any of the big bells on me at the moment, but play big Elsa, or you play a big purple bell, just to be able to try and do some type of tricks or shenanigans on the field. And then turn 4, you follow it up with either the alternate, so whichever 4-drop you didn't play on turn 4, and then you play the Lamp with your last 2 remaining ink, and you're able to set up a crazy tempo turn where you get to bounce one of their cards, you developed another 4-drop, and you got to draw 2 cards. That is an insane turn 6. And not to mention, as you are banishing all these items throughout the game, as you are progressing through these, those first 4 or 5 turns, and you're wasting through your resources, that's where we really get into the meat and potatoes of the deck. So, Tamatoa and Finders Keepers being your kind of late game resource utilization. You top deck one of these cards and it feels like, it feels like the first time you chewed 5 gum. It's truly kind of interesting. Like, I didn't think this card was good. The reason I say this is I didn't think that Finders Keepers was going to be good at all. And it turns out that this card is phenomenal. Just being able to be on 8 ink or 9 ink or whatever the case may be in a resource battle with your opponent, and just saying draw 3. We play so many 1-drops that the 1-drops become additional draws for themselves, and it all rolls into each other. Honestly, one of the best flowing decks that I think I have ever gotten to play. And it feels like it was kind of just by accident in a sense, but a good accident, a good happy accident. I did, of course, play the 1 Baymax in the deck. This is a late game utilization as well. It's just something to be able... technically, it's one of the turn 5 tools. So your Elsa, your Big Bell, and then your Baymax. I really liked this card. It has different utilizations in different matchups. It's also a threat. This card is next to impossible for Amber Steel to kill. That's 6 health. That 6 health is really a menace. And on top of that, its ability to heal things is kind of counterintuitive to what Amber Steel is trying to accomplish as well, or any of the Steel decks that are just trying to, proc some damage counters. The same mindset may be there for the new red-purple deck as well. I know that they play some damage counters or stuff, so it could be potential. I haven't dug into it a ton just yet. So that's the simplicity of the deck, guys. It's a turn 1 power play. It's a turn 2 ramp. If you play the Tippo, you're just looking to do a turn 4 Madam to bounce back the Tippo. If you do a turn 2 Sail, then you're looking to follow it up with a 1-drop with your free ink. That is like the the creme de la creme play, the one that you absolutely want to be making, at least in my personal opinion. Beyond that, though, guys, the deck on the back end, it plays pretty straightforward. It's tried to, I mean, the game as a whole has gotten more complicated. Let me preface that by saying, let me preface everything that I'm about to say with this. The game is becoming more and more difficult by the week, by the month. Playing in the later turns of your games is becoming more and more difficult. You really have to look for win conditions, right? So, I mean, a lot of people, like I say, we're all focused on trying to win a game, but sometimes you actually lose sight of a win line. And I do think that that is one of the most important things to understand with this deck. I didn't have a lot of situations where this deck was just winning off of pure attrition, right? Like, you make some solid value trades, but at the end of the day, like, the deck is only doing so much off of trade quest. So how do you set up a win? I found myself in a lot of times where I either had to play an extreme resource battle with my opponent to get up to a couple of 2-questers that I knew were going to outrace my opponent, or I had to be able to set up a very strategic Jafar to cap off a game. The deck is not easy to play on the back end. It's pretty straightforward on the front end. Most decks at this point are. I would say that this deck is a little bit more solitaire than others in the first couple of turns, just because you really don't have any removal interactions against your opponent until about turn 4 or turn 5. One additional piece that I will say, if you're facing a lot of green still, Troy made a really good mention. He's building a rendition of this deck right now, but the 3-drop Peter Pan is technically a really good tool if you're experiencing a lot of Emerald Steel issues. That card gets rid of Diablo. This deck doesn't have a lot of answers to a Diablo. There is the new Blurple action coming out that puts an exerted character into the Inkwell, which is solid.